The mediator's pen froze mid-sentence, and I watched my younger brother's confident smirk vanish in real time. That morning in the sleek Denver office building felt like any other high-stakes business meeting, until it didn't. I'd spent 3 grueling weeks in mediation, listening to Lucas explain why he deserved half of Morrison Custom Woodworks, the company I'd poured 4 decades of blood, sweat, and sacrifice into while he chased advanced degrees across the country. The mediator, Elena Ramirez, a seasoned former Colorado judge specializing in family enterprise conflicts, had seemed oddly understanding of his position from the start. Later I'd discover the subtle biases at play. But right then, all I could focus on was the slow unraveling of everything I'd built. Let me rewind to the true beginning. Not the lawsuit filed 6 months earlier. Not even my father's passing 3 years prior in 2022. This story starts back in 1983, when I was 22, fresh out of my carpentry apprenticeship in Denver and naive enough to think family loyalty and relentless hard work would always prevail. Dad worked long shifts at the local brewery distribution center. Mom managed the front desk at an elementary school. We lived modestly in a modest suburb, comfortable enough, but never luxurious. Lucas, my little brother, was 14 then, already the gifted academic in the family, allergic to anything involving tools or physical labor, as Mom would gently put it. One evening after dinner, Dad took me aside in the garage, where I tinkered with wood projects. "Ethan," he said, his voice low and serious, "your brother's headed for big things, college. Maybe more. We can't swing university for both of you. But you've got real talent with your hands. Why not start your own thing? I've got 10 grand saved. It's yours if you want to build something lasting." $10,000 in 1983 bought decent tools, a small rented workshop space downtown, and maybe 6 months of lean living if I hustled. I took it without hesitation. I named it Morrison Custom Woodworks and worked 70-hour weeks for the first 5 years straight. Custom kitchen cabinets for the booming tech suburbs, furniture restorations for historic homes, built-ins for new office developments popping up during Denver's oil and gas expansion years. By the time Lucas graduated high school, I had 3 full-time employees. When he earned his first degree from the University of Washington, I had 12 people on payroll and my first major commercial contract with a chain of mountain resorts. By the time he completed his PhD in economics, Morrison Custom Woodworks had grown into Denver's go-to for high-end renovations and bespoke woodworking, employing 42 skilled craftspeople with annual revenue nearing $5 million. Lucas became a tenured economics professor, first in Seattle, then back at the University of Colorado in Boulder. He published extensively on economic policy and market dynamics. Yet in all those years, he never once stepped foot in my workshop, never asked about operations, never showed the slightest curiosity about the empire I'd single-handedly constructed from Dad's seed money. Dad beamed with pride at family gatherings, calling me his entrepreneur son and Lucas his scholar son. But I noticed the subtle differences. Lucas's visits from out of state lit up Dad's eyes in a way my achievements never quite matched. A new academic paper from Lucas earned a permanent spot on Dad's desk. When I received the Denver Small Business Leadership Award in 2009, Dad offered a quick, "Proud of you, son," before diving back into Lucas's latest publication. I didn't resent it outwardly, I understood. Lucas represented intellectual achievement. I was the blue-collar grinder. Mom's Alzheimer's diagnosis came in 2018. Dad cared for her devotedly for 4 years until his own heart failed suddenly in early 2022. Lucas flew in from Boulder for the funeral, stayed 4 days handling minimal arrangements, then returned to his academic routine. I was the one who relocated Mom to an upscale memory care facility in Aurora, visited 3 times weekly, and covered the bulk of the $8,000 monthly fees when Medicare fell short. Lucas chipped in $500 monthly, always with the caveat about his modest professor salary compared to my business success. 6 months after Dad's funeral, Lucas called while I was driving home from a client site inspection. "We need to discuss the business." "Ethan." My grip tightened on the wheel. "What about it?" He hesitated, then dropped the bomb. "Dad always said Morrison Woodworks was for both of us. Family legacy." I nearly swerved off I-25. "What?" He pressed on, claiming Dad had promised him half repeatedly over the years. "You've had 40 years to build your wealth. I've been in academia scraping by." Dad wanted balance. He told me dozens of times, the business belongs to both his boys. I pulled into a Starbucks parking lot, heart pounding. Even if Dad had said vague things in sentimental moments, which I doubted, it held no legal weight. The company was solely in my name, backed by 40 years of tax filings, registrations, and personal investment. Lucas wasn't bluffing. 2 weeks later, a thick statement of claim arrived from a Boulder law firm. He sought 50% ownership of Morrison Custom Woodworks, citing Dad's alleged verbal promises as a binding agreement under promissory estoppel. He also demanded $600,000 in retroactive profit shares for the prior decade. The 90-plus page document portrayed me as the exploitative older brother who monopolized family resources and parental favor. It listed specific dates: Christmas 2016, Thanksgiving 2019, Dad's 71st birthday in 2020, with claimed private father-son conversations. I'd attended every gathering and recalled no such explicit promises, only Dad's hazy, beer-fueled talks of legacy for my boys. I hired top Denver litigator Rebecca Kim. She warned it would be costly, but winnable if we proved no enforceable promise existed. The mediation sessions dragged on in a sterile downtown Denver conference room, tension thick as sawdust in my workshop. Lucas arrived each time impeccably dressed, accompanied by his sharp attorney, Victor Lang. Elena Ramirez opened with her neutral facilitator script, emphasizing voluntary resolution over courtroom battles. Lucas spoke first, voice steady and academic. "Ethan, this isn't about destroying what you built. Dad made promises, years of them. He saw my career path didn't yield the same financial rewards and wanted fairness for both sons." He cited the exact dates from the claim, insisting they were private talks where Dad assured him, "Don't worry. The business is for both my boys. Ethan knows you'll be taken care of." I stared across the table, searching for any sign of the brother I'd helped raise. I was at every one of those holidays. "Lucas, I don't remember Dad saying anything close to that. And you've never worked a day in the shop." He countered smoothly. They were father-son moments, away from the crowd. Dad emphasized it was a shared family asset. Elena leaned in sympathetically, even with ambiguity. "Isn't there moral weight to honoring a father's intent for both sons to benefit?" My blood simmered. His intent was for me to succeed through hard work, which I did. I've supported Lucas financially for decades, helping fund his second master's when grants fell short, covering extra costs for Mom's care. But Elena pressed, "Family businesses thrive on informal understandings. Ethan, courts sometimes enforce a father's word. Between sessions, insomnia gripped me. I'd replay family Christmases in my mind, Dad slightly tipsy, waxing nostalgic about legacy while I hosted relatives and managed kids. Had I missed crucial words amid the chaos? My wife Sarah noticed my decline. "This is eating you alive. The business is valued at over $7 million now. Losing half would force a buyout or sale." I confided my fears. "I don't recognize Lucas anymore." The second session intensified Elena's tilt toward Lucas, invoking family equity and unwritten legacies. Rebecca pulled me aside afterward. "She's biased. We need ironclad evidence showing Dad never intended shared ownership." I spent weeks excavating 40 years of records from storage boxes and digital archives. The original $10,000 check from Dad dated September 1983. Incorporation papers from 1996 listing me as sole shareholder. Tax returns proving sole ownership since inception. Loan documents for workshop expansions, all in my name alone. Then, buried in a folder of personal correspondence, I found a handwritten letter from Dad dated July 2011. Ethan, I'm so proud. You took my small gift and turned Morrison Woodworks into something extraordinary through your own vision and relentless effort. That's all you, son. Keep building what you've earned. The phrasing hit hard. All you, not us or the boys. This directly contradicted any notion of shared asset. The third mediation fell on December 18th, 2 weeks before Christmas. Nearly 2 years since Dad's death. I arrived early, clutching Dad's letter in the truck cab, steeling myself. Inside, Lucas looked smug. Victor reviewed notes. Elena prepped her laptop. Rebecca presented the 2011 letter first, reading aloud the key lines about your own vision. All you, son. Lucas's expression flickered slightly as Victor whispered urgently. Elena noted its age predated the claimed promises. Rebecca countered by introducing subpoenaed medical records from Dad's longtime physician, Dr. Michael Patel, spanning 2013 to 2022. Harold Morrison received an early-stage Alzheimer's diagnosis in October 2014, with cognitive symptoms documented as early as 2013. The room stilled. Lucas protested. Dad didn't have Alzheimer's, Mom did. Rebecca corrected gently. Your mother was diagnosed later. In 2019. Your father was diagnosed 5 years earlier. And the family was notified. Notes from late 2014 advised monitoring major decisions due to emerging confusion and memory issues. She detailed timelines. By Christmas 2016, records showed increased short-term memory loss and confabulation, blending past and present realities. Thanksgiving 2019 followed a minor stroke causing temporary disorientation. Dad's 71st birthday in 2020 occurred during moderate stage progression, where physicians explicitly warned against financial or legal commitments without oversight. A person lacking capacity cannot form enforceable promises, Rebecca stated. And the 2011 letter proves Dad viewed the business as Ethan's sole achievement before any impairment. Lucas paled. I didn't know about Dad's diagnosis. He seemed normal at gatherings, joking, telling stories. Rebecca nodded empathetically. Alzheimer's patients often mask symptoms socially early on, but records confirm impairment during your claimed promise periods. Elena reviewed documents, her demeanor shifting. This evidence materially alters the case strength. Victor scrambled for rebuttals, but the foundation had cracked. During the break, Rebecca and I stepped into a nearby coffee shop. My hands trembled holding my latte. Did you know about Dad's full diagnosis details? She asked. I nodded slowly. I accompanied him to that 2014 appointment. Early stages, good days mixed with confusion. I handled bills, prescriptions, and eventually Mom's transition when Dad struggled. I assumed Lucas knew through Mom or brief visits. He came maybe 3 times a year. Perhaps denial played a role. Maybe Lucas selectively ignored inconvenient truths complicating his narrative. Back in the room, Lucas appeared diminished. Victor announced they sought settlement, dropping the ownership claim, but requesting a one-time $450,000 payment acknowledging Dad's foundational investment and family legacy. Rebecca dismissed it curtly. That's rewarding a failed lawsuit. Lucas turned directly to me. Voice cracking. Dad gave you 10 grand in '83. Adjusted for inflation. That's around $35,000 today. The business is worth millions. Doesn't that initial family seed deserve recognition? I felt something fracture inside. Recognition? You mean repayment for money I repaid through decades of support, your education loans, Mom's care shortfall. Mortgage help during your job gaps. COVID salary cuts. Over $450,000 total. Much never repaid. I never tracked it or held it over you because family helps family. I pulled up my phone's banking and financial summaries, scrolling through years of transfers. 18,000 for his second master's in the mid-1990s, only 5,000 repaid, 12,000 for a mortgage shortfall in 2009, 6,000 for a new car down payment in 2016, 12,000 during 2020 university cuts. I've given freely because you're my brother. But you never asked for help, you sued, claiming entitlement to what I built alone. Silence enveloped the table. Lucas whispered. I didn't remember the full extent. Of course not, I replied, because I never weaponized it. Elena attempted mediation, perhaps a modest goodwill payment. I cut in firmly. No. This suit has drained $85,000 in legal fees, stolen my sleep for a year, and fractured our family bond. All because you twisted Dad's confused, illness-driven ramblings, vague legacy talk from a man whose mind was failing, into a claim on my life's work. Lucas's eyes welled. He said at every visit, Ethan, the business is for both my boys. I believed it meant security for me too. It meant Dad loved you and wanted you safe, I said softly. But it wasn't ownership. It wasn't reality. Victor packed up, advising consultation. Elena apologized for her initial leanings, admitting insufficient family medical context. After they left, Rebecca grinned. Total win. But victory tasted hollow, like losing my brother. Sarah waited at home. I recounted everything. She held my hand silently before saying, People are messy. Maybe Lucas genuinely misread Dad's words amid grief and insecurity. I pondered that for days. Christmas passed without contact. I sent our traditional card. None returned. Then a handwritten letter arrived on university letterhead 2 weeks later. Lucas wrote of therapy sessions, conversations with family dispute experts, realizing he'd constructed a self-serving narrative from Dad's impaired statements because he craved significance in my success. He expressed deep regret for the betrayal, committed to ongoing self-work, and left the door open without demanding forgiveness. I shared it with Sarah. He sounds sincere, horrified by his actions. Forgiveness weighed heavy. I kept the letter, but didn't call immediately. Mom passed peacefully in her sleep in March 2025 at the memory care home. I called Lucas immediately. Mom's gone. His voice broke on the first ring. He arrived the next day, and we planned the funeral collaboratively. He managed the obituary and distant relatives. I handled the service and arrangements. At the ceremony, he wept during the eulogy. I placed a hand on his shoulder like Dad once did for us as boys. By Mom's casket afterward, he whispered apologies, not just for the lawsuit but for absent years, expecting me to shoulder parental care alone while he pursued his career afar. We buried her beside Dad at Fairmount Cemetery, the family plot evoking generations of shared history. A week later, Lucas suggested coffee at the same Starbucks where I'd processed his initial threat over a year earlier. Over steaming cups, he referenced Dad's 2011 letter. Your vision, your sweat, your success. He was right, it was all you. I let jealousy consume me. My academic path felt hollow next to your tangible creation employing people, building legacies. I latched onto Dad's confused words. As validation, I mattered too. We talked for hours about our parents, our grown children, unresolved grief. Trust remained damaged, but dialogue resumed tentatively. A month later, nearing my 65th birthday, I proposed something unexpected, transitioning toward retirement. After 42 years, my body ached. I wanted travel with Sarah while healthy. I'd gradually sell shares to senior managers over 5 years. Before that, I wanted to establish a $100,000 seed scholarship at the University of Colorado for aspiring tradespeople and entrepreneurs in woodworking or construction. Named the Harold Morrison Memorial Scholarship. I'd like your help administering it. You understand academia. Lucas accepted gratefully. Condition: he must visit the workshop, meet the team, witness the reality he'd tried claiming. He came the following week. I led a full tour, the humming workshop filled with sawdust and precision tools crafting custom pieces, the showroom displaying client projects, offices coordinating complex renovations. Longtime employees, some with me 20-plus years, shared stories of growth and challenges overcome. Lucas stood quietly at the end. I never grasped it. This isn't just a business. It's your life's relationships, craftsmanship, endurance. Dad's 10 grand became something monumental through your effort alone. I'm sorry I tried taking it. Acceptance felt partial but real. We launched the scholarship that summer. The inaugural recipient, a determined young man from Pueblo aiming to launch his own custom cabinetry firm. At the award event, Lucas and I stood side by side on stage, brothers again. Scarred yet present. Sarah once asked if I'd truly forgiven Lucas. After long reflection, I answered, I forgive the human flaws, jealousy, insecurity, the desperate grasp at meaning through Dad's illness-fogged words. But I can't erase the betrayal, the sleepless nights, the $85,000 in fees, the sense my own brother viewed my life's work as plunder. Things would never revert to pre-lawsuit innocence. Yet complete rupture felt worse. Lucas and I maintain cautious connection, bi-weekly calls, monthly dinners, joint scholarship oversight. We visit the cemetery together on Mom's would-be birthday. The business sale to managers proceeds toward 2030 completion. I'll retire. Explore with Sarah. Enjoy grandchildren. Morrison Custom Woodworks endures under fresh leadership. Dad's 2011 letter stays in my desk. Your vision, your sweat, your success. On difficult days, rereading reinforces ownership and resilience. I've learned documentation trumps blind trust. Verbal family assurances demand writing. And forgiveness coexists with boundaries. People entangle motivations, grief, envy, cognitive decline create villains from flawed humans making grave errors. My story ends not in fairy tale reunion but realistic middle ground, brothers navigating scars. Honoring Dad through the scholarship, recognizing family as imperfect humans striving forward amid mistakes and pain. The business I built stands as testament to individual effort, yet the scholarship ensures Dad's initial gift ripples positively for others. In the quiet moments, I wonder, if Dad's mind stayed sharp, would Lucas ever have sued? Would our bond have frayed so deeply? Those questions linger, shaping how I view legacy, loyalty, and the fragile threads binding families. Ultimately, we rebuild not what was lost, but what remains possible.